to Career Fast Break. I'm Jason Perkins. Today I'm going to introduce you to Sharon DeLay. She's the president and founder of BoldlyGO Coaching and HR Management. Sharon, how you doing?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you, Sharon. Today, the purpose of the show is to really give viewers career advice, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's get started, Sharon. Let's start out with an example, Sharon. What if I lost my job? What's the first step I should take?
The first step you should take is, and that's a really good question because a lot of people just simply don't know where to start. So the first thing that people need to do is take a moment, breathe deeply, relax, and understand that they're not alone. I always encourage people to explore their legal and financial opportunities or options and making sure they understand all that that entails as well in case they have a severance package, what they should sign, what they shouldn't sign. And I also encourage them to take a look at their insurance options. COBRA does not have to be the only option for an employee, and there are several insurance advisors out there who can recommend less expensive alternatives. So when you can go through the process of understanding that you don't have to spend out of pocket an exorbitant amount of money to maintain your insurance, that takes a lot of pressure off of you. And getting rid of some of that pressure that can grow into this evil little ugly monster that can consume you is very important.
Absolutely.
To then help you take the next step of start defining your strategy. One of the first things with that is you really need to reach out to your family and engage them. When family members are uncertain about what's going on and they become stressful, they add to your stress, and that's not what they want to do, certainly. So they want to help you. So talking to your family, letting them know what's going on, don't hide it from them assuming you're protecting them, but engage them because you might be surprised at how they can help you in your career search.
Absolutely.
Get them involved. And then I also encourage people to sit down and draw up a plan, just like you would for a business. The business is now you. And you need to draw up a plan and understand what it is your next steps are. A lot of times that might be working with somebody like me, who's a career coach. A lot of times it might be just working with your family. And then at other points, it's actually reaching out to your network and asking them some very key questions. What do you think I'm good at? What do you think I should be doing? Can you take a look at my resume and make some recommendations? So those are great first places to begin.
All right. Okay, so Sharon, we've learned to stay positive, relax, don't worry, go to your close connections, go to your friends and family if you lost your job. Now, let's get into the next step. Career strategy. How do we go about planning a career strategy?
Excellent question. One of the first things I really do when I sit down with people is I just ask them questions. I put the resume aside because people tend to speak to their resume, and that's not always what they want to do. It's what they sometimes think they have to do or continue doing. So we put the resume aside, we put the past history aside, and I start asking questions. What do you like? What are your interests? When you were little, what did you want to do, and why aren't you doing that now? And a lot of times that brings out some dialogue that we can continue to build on. And I also encourage them to potentially take some assessments. I am not a big believer that assessments are the gospel of what you should be doing. I think it's just a place to start, again, the dialogue and to talk about why did these results come up this way? Is there some truth to it? And let's talk about it. And with those two discussions that happen, we then start really looking at defining focus. And focus includes not only what you want to do, not necessarily what you think you should do, but what you want to do. It also includes what do you want from a company? When you make the career transition into another company, it should be a company you want to work for. It should be a company you enjoy working for that matches your culture and your fit as well. So we look at all of these. We develop a profile, for example, around what the employer or the client wants to do, what they're looking for, and then I encourage them to start doing some research. And I think it's great if an employee or a client, can really start with 5 companies potentially that they're targeting. Go out and do some research, find out who they know there, find out how they can get information about those companies. Again, the more control we can take of our career search and the better we can manage it, the better we feel about things and the less panic we have. And that continues to propel us forward in our career search. Again, get your advisory board going. That could be family members that you trust. That could be people in your network that you trust that will not only be truth tellers and keep you on track and focused and will allow you to occasionally vent a little bit. We all need to. But then they will get you back on track and keep you moving forward. And those are really keys. And then the final piece of it is we need to understand where we're spending our time. And once we understand where we're spending our time and sometimes where we're wasting our time, then we can understand how much time we have to put toward a career search. And 80% of that available time should be spent on networking.
really?
Not going into Monster and Career Builder and just sending out random resumes. But once you know your focus, once you have your 5 or 6 or 7 targeted companies, then 80% of your time is spent networking toward those goals.
Really? Mm-hmm. Very interesting stuff, Sharon. Good stuff. When we come back, we're going to talk with Sharon on how much time we should spend searching for a job. Some say it's full time. So we'll get the truth when we come back right after this with Sharon DeLay. Welcome back to Career Fast Break. I'm here with Sharon DeLay, president and co-founder of BoldlyGO Coaching and HR Management. And we're just getting into how much time we should spend searching for a job if we have recently lost one. Sharon?
Really good question again. And a lot of people, what happens is when they're suddenly without a job, TV starts taking a priority, sleeping in starts taking a priority. You know, I've lost my job. I deserve all of this. I deserve this extra time. The reality is if you've lost a full-time job, then your full-time job becomes career search. So 40 hours a week at least. And again, going back to what I said earlier, 80% of that time should be spent networking. Now, where did I come up with 80%? If you look at the statistics and the surveys and the information out there, they will, you're being told that anywhere from 7 to 9 out of every 10 jobs will be secured through networking. And some recent feedback even showed that upwards of 90% of the jobs aren't even being posted anymore on sites such as Career Builder in the newspapers.
Really?
So when we look at 80%, that's kind of in between that 7 to 9 jobs. So 80%. So what do you do with that time? You go to trade associations. You go to volunteer situations. Volunteer your time. You meet some great people there. You continue to develop your skills. If you're going to spend time searching job boards, I suggest you don't spend that time going out to individual services, but instead go to job aggregator sites such as Simply Hired. And use those because what those sites do is they pull the information in from multiple different job boards and online boards and companies. In my career boot camp, when I work with individuals, we spend anywhere from 1 to 3 sessions working on networking. That's how important it is and how important it is to understand that's how you need to spend your time.
So what if you don't know anybody? How do you actually get out there and network yourself?
You might be surprised at who you know. There's a great book out there called Monster Networking, actually by the individual who founded Monster.com, and he talks about the fact that we all really know 100 people by first name that we can go out and talk to.
Really?
And I take people, again, through when I'm working with them, either privately or through the boot camp, I take them through the process of a brainstorming activity where we define categories such as family, friends, vendors, coworkers, former coworkers, neighbors, former neighbors, and I actually have them brainstorm. They are not allowed to edit as they brainstorm because editing then takes people off of your list, and your goal is to add people to your list. By the time we go through this process, by the time we start looking through our email address books, our Palm Pilot address books, our iPhone address books, we're surprised at how many people we actually do know. Then and only then does the editing process start. And you figure out what your goal is, again, going back to that, having that focus of what it is you're trying to accomplish, either by title or key companies. Then you start looking at the individuals you've listed on your brainstorming list and define 2 that you can start talking with. Just 2.
Wow.
It's amazing what you can do with 2 people when you start a conversation.
Well, 2 becomes 4 and 4 becomes 8 and it just kind of spreads out like tree
Absolutely. And if you get too many going too fast, it becomes overwhelming. When we get overwhelmed, we do nothing.
Right.
At least 2's manageable.